Street circuits can be loved and loathed in equal measure. On one hand, closed roads can have a unique charm, an element of exclusivity and added jeopardy. On the other hand, they can be bumpy, uninteresting, unoriginal, and heavily compromised. But some street circuits manage to stand out from the crowd, and iRacing has just added what my colleagues and I believe to be one of the best in the world. Australia, home of Oscar Piastri, Alan Jones, Peter Brock and Craig Lowndes, home of Brabham, the Outback, the Wallabies, actual Wallabies, and since 1985, home of the Adelaide Street Circuit. This temporary street course was initially created 40 years ago, not just to bring Formula 1 to Australia for the first time, but to bring a bit more colour and noise to a city with a relatively quiet reputation. The 2.35 mile layout, designed by engineer Bob Barnard, the man responsible for the redevelopment of Phillip Island later in his career, combined public city roads with some small purpose-built sections. The first Grand Prix took place in 1985, and a certain Ayrton Senna driving a stupidly overpowered Lotus 97T would take pole position by a whopping 7/10 of a second. Now I'm not Ayrton Senna, goes without saying, but I can show you the original layout and drive his Lotus on Automobilista 2. So down towards the first chicane would become known as the Senna chicane eventually. Fast left-hander on the way out of there, and then we've got a series of 90-degree left and right-handers going back and forth, a little bit like a staircase. If you're looking at it on a map, I've got about 1,000 horsepower to deal with this Lotus, so I'm gonna be a little bit gentle. You can see giant curbs everywhere here, really defining the track limits. You've got this fast chicane now, another left-right, and then you've got another 90-degree right-hander heading onto the start of the back straight. Get the power down, again let the turbo come in. Down towards Brewery Corner, a fast right-hander, again curbs absolutely crucial. Being very, very tentative with this car. Unleash all the power down the Brabham straight, and then it's thinking about the hairpin at the end, the slowest point on the circuit. I'm going to brake right about the 150. Down to first gear, really, really tight corner. Watch for understeer. No way of getting the power down as we head now towards the end of the circuit. You've got a left kink into another 90-degree left. Just a bit of understeer there, but it's so satisfying when you get it right. And then we've got a fast right-hander going into the final hairpin now. Watch for oversteer. Probably down to first gear. Oh, the rear stepping out on me. Can't get the power down until now. Oh. And that is going to be a lap of the original layout of Adelaide. Now I think Senna's pole time was a 1:19.8 or something. I'm sure mine was very, very similar. I'll put the time on screen now. God, I'm good. And thus began Australia's tenure as a Formula 1 host nation. So many iconic F1 moments would take place at Adelaide over the coming years, from the three-way title scrap of '86 and Mansell's spectacular blowout, to the washouts of '89 and '91, Senna's final win and Prost's final Grand Prix in '93, Mansell's final win the next year, overshadowed by Schumacher and Hill's championship-deciding collision, Mika Hakkinen's life-threatening crash at Brewery Bend, and David Coulthard unceremoniously sticking it in the pit wall from the lead in 1995. The Adelaide Grand Prix had become a staple of the F1 calendar, a fitting finale. The event was a bit of a car wrecker. It was chaotic, it was often massively influential in the title fight, and it was always unpredictable. But following the 1995 curtain closer, Grand Prix racing at Adelaide would come to a crashing halt. Behind closed doors, Melbourne secured a deal to take over the Australian Grand Prix from 1996 onwards, swiping the contract from under Adelaide's nose. Adelaide had been the season finale. Melbourne would be the season opener. This was another new temporary street course, one which you're probably familiar with, called Albert Park. And as quickly as the rug had been pulled, Melbourne cemented its very own seat at the top of the table. And in the 30 years since, with Albert Park still prospering, Adelaide hasn't hosted another Grand Prix. But that's not the end of the story. Just before I tell you the rest though, if you're enjoying this type of video and want to see more similar, do consider subscribing to this Traxion channel. Obviously, it helps us reach new audiences and continue to grow and make content, but also it helps you not miss any of our videos. Sorry for the interruption. Let's get back to it. A regroup was needed, and following a brief hiatus while wounds were healed and plans were drawn up, the track would reopen in April 1999. Not for Formula 1 this time though, it would host something far more exciting, Australia's biggest national series, the V8 Supercars.
Get ready, away we go! Glenn Seaton and Garth Tander, the youngsters got the jump!
The layout had been altered slightly, reducing it from 2.3 miles to just 2 miles, but more on that later. There would, however, be a truly captivating one-off event taking place in 2000 that would see a proper send-off for the original course that it never got with Formula 1. The race of 1,000 years. The event was the final round of the American Le Mans series and would take place on the 31st of December, running into the night. I mean, personally, I can't really think of a cooler way to spend celebrating New Year's Eve. But of course what that meant was you had some of the coolest GT cars and prototypes of the early noughties, and some of the very best drivers in the world duking it out into the darkness for over 200 laps. I mean, the sight, the sound, the energy, the light that must have brought to the Adelaide city streets would have been some spectacle. Absolutely incredible. And to be honest, I don't really think it's something that's been replicated ever since. But one-off magic aside, with V8 Supercars in town, Adelaide's 2.0 era had officially begun. This was my first experience of Adelaide. The year would have been around about 2005. I was 8 years old. I fired up TOCA Race Driver 3, as it was known in the UK, for the first time. And I was immediately bombarded with all of these Australian and New Zealand circuits that I'd simply never experienced before. And one of the best circuits in the game had to be this, Adelaide. It just looked very cool visually, it was great for racing, and it did of course utilise the updated layout. So after the exit of turn 6, instead of going straight on towards another chicane, you enter another 90-degree right-hander, turn 7 instead. You head down Bartles Road, which would become known as Brock Straight, towards the new reconfigured turn 8, the absolutely terrifying turn 8. Oh dear. Ah yes, turn 8 at Adelaide. For fans of Supercars, as it's now called. And can I just say, what a terrible decision that was. I mean, they never actually ended up switching away to other engine regulations, they stuck with V8s, and quite frankly, Supercars is the least searchable term on the whole of the internet if you're looking for the V8 Supercar series. Sorry, anyway. Turn 8 has entered the realm of folklore. It's hallowed turf, a near mythical legend. And when you get it wrong, you probably feel like your torso is entering a realm of its own.
And the SP Toolcast has been absolutely total.
Here he comes. Wow!
Like that.
Fair to say, it looks like it hurts. It doesn't matter whether you're driving through a low-speed section or a high-speed section, there is no margin for error anywhere. Full commitment required, and if you perfect it, you're left grimacing as you slide inches away from the concrete walls. It really is a driver's dream, but also it could so quickly turn into a nightmare. And the pros, they have to do this lap in, lap out for ages. Absolutely mental. It honestly feels like a privilege to experience turn 8 in a Gen 3 supercar on iRacing. It's a different kettle of fish to the TOCA Race Driver 3 version. In we go, close to the barrier on the power. Oh! That was too close. Got away with it. It's this jeopardy mixed with the closeness of the walls, the high-speed corners, the commitment required from the drivers, mixed with the sort of festival-like carnival atmosphere and the energy brought around by the Adelaide 500 that makes this place and this event so special. Too deep. And then obviously, a special event brings more spectators. More spectators brings more energy and more numbers to the party atmosphere. It just continues to prosper. And it's a perpetual cycle. By the 2010s, the curtain-raising Supercars event was a long-established highlight of the year. Not the highlight, that was always the Bathurst 1000, but certainly a leading contender for second place. Growth for the event had somewhat stagnated by this point, but its popularity remained unquestionable, and organisers continued to try new things. From 2015, they even had stadium trucks knocking 7 bells out of each other, flying over ramps and causing absolute carnage. There were lots of other amazing support categories too, of course. I just had to mention the trucks because you can actually replicate their layout, replete with jumps, on Automobilista 2, and that is absolutely awesome. There would be more tough times ahead though. Spectator numbers slowly dwindled towards the end of the decade, and a hammer blow was dealt when the COVID-19 pandemic forced organisers to cancel what were going to be the final 2 runnings of the Adelaide 500 on the existing contract, a contract which wasn't renewed for the following year. There were real fears that this marked the end for the venue, but thanks to eager politicians and the will of motorsport fans, Adelaide returned to the Supercars calendar in 2022, not as the season opener, but as the season finale, just as it had been for Formula 1 all those years ago. And that brings us here, December 2025, and we have just witnessed a very epic Supercar season finale at this venue. And iRacing, the PC simulation giant, has just added Adelaide to its track roster, so now you can drive around Adelaide in a current day Gen 3 supercar on the platform. It's not cheap, but that's still pretty cool. Gives you a chance to experience in a modern sim what it must have felt like a little bit for the likes of Chaz Mostert and Brock Feeney the other weekend. Maybe not quite as emotionally charged though. The all-new Grand Finals format meant that 4 drivers went into the final weekend at Adelaide with a shot at the championship. Reigning champion Will Brown, rookie Kai Allen, and then the 2 leading contenders, Brock Feeney, who dominated the main season, and Chaz Mostert. Sunday's finale was breathtaking, a dramatic first-lap incident, an incredible comeback, engine trouble and heartbreak, and eventually a first Supercars championship for Chaz Mostert. It was dramatic, it was controversial. It split opinions all across the nation, even split opinions across the globe if me and my colleagues are anything to go by. But ultimately, it was just an amazing spectacle. And it sort of summarised just how epic a season it's been of Supercars racing. I'm already excited for the start of next season. Regardless of what you think of the new format and everything, it's just fun to watch. Anyway, I think it's about time I called on a friend and colleague to have a little bit of a scrap around this circuit. In fact, he's actually already here.
Okay, the new.
Okay, the new indeed. We've got Thomas Randall in between us. He didn't stick it in the turn 8 wall this time, unlike he did in real life. How are you finding this combo so far?
It's fair to say it's quite challenging.
I wouldn't disagree.
But I think the track is obviously, like, it's been really well done.
Oh, Randall's going for it.
Just sends it.
Tickford finally coming into some form. It was very, very tricky to get confident and get up to speed. Like, at first I was really struggling. I couldn't really get it close to the walls. I was spinning the rears. These cars are super sensitive to the throttle. You've got to be gentle. Your teammate's having a go at me now, by the way. Trying to get a little bit of revenge on Walkinshaw. But yeah, for me, it's like the more laps I did, the more I got comfortable. I also was struggling a bit with the default setup. I stuck on a Go setup actually it was for the Bathurst 1000, but it made the car feel so much better. So I would recommend you guys actually check out the affiliate link in the description if you want some really good iRacing setups for a bunch of different cars, because it made such a big difference to how this car felt around Adelaide, even just starting with the Bathurst setup. But anyway, yeah, I got up to speed, I started getting comfortable, and all of a sudden the satisfaction from how epic this circuit really started kicking in. So I've just gone straight on at the hairpin. I'm going to need a Brock Feeney style comeback now.
I think in iRacing, the turn 1, you know, the runoff area is quite brutal. It's quite punishing. Yeah, I think they've nailed it in terms of atmosphere.
Yeah.
And for me, like, how good would this be as like a standalone game? Like
amazing.
An Aussie V8's, you know, full game. That would be amazing.
The last time we had that was sort of TOCA Race Driver 3, which was obviously a V8 Supercar official, or they had an official V8 Supercar license, and that was pretty epic, but it wasn't a dedicated game, of course. It had lots of other official series on there as well, like DTM, even if it was called that in Australia, so wouldn't that be absolutely awesome? I mean, even just having this liveried up AI field on iRacing, which you can download from Trading Paints, is still just incredibly immersive and a lot of fun to actually have the proper names and the proper liveries and everything. As a street circuit, there are more overtaking opportunities at Adelaide than there are at most. You know, normally street circuits are so tight and twisty, and there's maybe 1 or 2 spots. But at Adelaide, you can obviously sneak it down the inside of some of these 90-degree corners, or you can send it down into the hairpin. You can also set up a run into the last corner as well. But obviously, if you try and make a move in the wrong place, like turn 8, you've absolutely had it. There's no margin at all. I saw that wall hit. And that one.
I think we found our natural level here at the back.
Oh, I saw that one too. Walkinshaw versus 888 once again. Yeah, that's not an overtaking spot. Sorry. I did say it was easy to lock up. So that is pretty much it for the story of Adelaide. Obviously, you can get your hands on it for iRacing and you can do exactly what me and Ross are doing right now. But will you? And are you excited about it? Let us know down in the comment section below. Hopefully you've enjoyed another one of these story-style videos. And as I said earlier, if you subscribe to the channel, you won't miss any of our future videos, whether they're like this or whether they're game reviews or anything else racing game related. We'll have you covered. Check out the TraxionGG website as well on a daily basis for all of your latest racing game news. And until I see you next time, thanks for watching and have a great day. Yes!